Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and I'm so excited to chat with you today because we are talking about our large houseplants. Typically with your houseplants, you're going to be repotting them about every year, increasing that pot size by 2 inches. Some plants you can get away with not repotting that often, especially if it's one of the smaller, like less quickly growing varieties. But in general, you are going to be needing to repot your plants every year, which means that they're getting bigger, which is a great thing, but you know, what do you do with them as they continue to grow? So number one, you're going to have to use some tools to make your life a little bit easier. First of all, I always suggest training the plant to grow how you want it to grow as early as possible. So for me, with this particular plant that I have in mind, the Monstera deliciosa, I needed to grow it upright because if you don't train those plants upright or in the way that you want them to grow right away, they will start to grow sideways and literally all over the place. And once they get a lot bigger, it's a lot harder to convince those branches to move straight up because, you know, they're a lot thicker and they're a little bit more set in their ways. So I would recommend implementing a plank of wood, a moss pole that's a little bit more heavy duty. I know there's a lot of moss poles out there that are made of like hardware cloth. I think those are fine, but if you can like fortify it with a PVC pipe or something like that, that would be even better so that it isn't going to bend to the weight of the plant because that can happen. Plants do get pretty heavy. You can also use bamboo poles. So there's bamboo stakes, which are really skinny, and then there's bamboo poles, which are a lot thicker. They're probably about 1 inch thick and they're very strong. I've seen some people spray the bottom of them to seal them so that they're not going to get water damage as quickly. But those are really a great way to implement lots of different supports in a plant, like around it, if the plant is one of those that kind of grows all over the place. To secure the plant to this moss pole or plank or whatever it is that you're using, I really suggest using something called plant Velcro. It's a little green tape that is just amazingly powerful in your plant collection. I've personally used it for the last couple of years in a technique that I call plant braces, and that's basically just pulling the plant up towards the plank or pole that you want it to adhere to. And you kind of have to do it a little bit slowly because, as I said, these branches, as the plant is older, tend to get a little bit thicker. So if you do it slowly, it's less likely to damage or snap the plant or something like that. And plant Velcro is very gentle. So I really like using it for, you know, if a plant has gone a little bit astray, bringing it back to the plank. Or I also like pulling the leaves together with it. Some of my plants are like single branches with a leaf at the end, and they tend to like kind of splay out, and I personally don't like the way that that looks. So I like to adhere all of the leaves together, sort of like a bunch of flowers in yeah, a flower bunch. Probably the most important part of this entire thing of having large plants is to have rolling plant caddies. And I don't know what else to call this, but it's basically just a saucer with wheels. And this is so helpful to save your back from lifting these huge plants all around wherever you need to take them because, you know, surprise, surprise, we need to water these plants. Not as often as our smaller plants. You will find that your large plants take a little bit longer to dry out, but nonetheless, you do still need to water them. So when you're trying to get them from point A to point B, it can really save your back if you're able to just roll it over and then lift it into the tub or lift it onto your watering table or whatever it is that you're lifting it onto. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I personally love using Squarespace for my businesses because it is so easy to handle it myself. One of the biggest pain points I feel in having a website is not having, not necessarily control over it, but just not having the knowledge to know how to work it, to know how to edit it, and instead having to outsource that to somebody else, and then it takes time to get it done, which always is a good thing to outsource when you can, but sometimes when you just want to fix something really quick, it can be a whole process that you can just eliminate by using something simple like Squarespace. Squarespace websites are super simple to make because they use templates, so you can just grab a template that you like and start adding whatever you want to it. You can create pages by putting in like customized blocks. They also have a really easy to use blogging section where you can obviously post your blogs, your recipes, your tutorials, whatever it is that you're doing. and then you can chat with your readers in the comments. The last part of my website that I need to set up is my store, and I have been procrastinating so hard because I was nervous to do it, and it's been so easy. Squarespace has a lot of really helpful articles. Like if you just have a question about how to do something, they have really great support and tons of pages already dedicated to common questions. So honestly, every question I've ever had, they have had an answer for, and I found it really quickly. So if you are wanting to get the word out about whatever you're doing online, I would highly suggest using Squarespace. You can use the code Becca Plants to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, and it comes with a free trial. So you can try it out, see how you like it, and then move in with buying your domain. One of the biggest pain points that I experience with having large plants is watering them. Honestly, it's probably the worst part of having them. And other than that little thing, it's like my favorite thing in the world to have huge oversized houseplants. You might have to manipulate the plant in a certain way so that it can fit under doorways, which makes it more awkward to carry. You might even not be able to lift it completely on your own depending on the size and weight of the pot. So what I would really suggest is, again, using those roller casters to get the plant right up to the point where you have to lift it, and then lifting it either into the bathtub or onto your watering table. Now, I made a video tutorial on how I made my watering table, and I pretty much built that so that I could water my large plants indoors, and it would be a lot easier for me because I don't have a bathtub downstairs, and I sure as heck am not going to be bringing my large plants all the way up the stairs just to water them. So I built that, and I'll have that video linked down below. If you do have access to a bathtub pretty closely, that's probably the best place to water your large plants. Having a detachable shower head is awesome. If you don't have one already, I just generally suggest it for watering your plants in the shower and things like that. It's a really great opportunity to clean off the leaves, especially when you have those large plants. They tend to have huge leaves, and hopefully a lot of them, and it can be quite the task to wash every single individual leaf, and just putting them under the flow of the water can do a lot of that work for you. But if you don't want to move the plants, or if you can't due to house constraints or bodily constraints, I would really suggest just using a watering can and a turkey baster. Of course, I hope that you have a sealed saucer underneath the plant, because if you don't have a sealed saucer, like if it's just a terracotta saucer, it is going to pull in that liquid, and it's going to sit there, and it can damage whatever surface the plant is living on, be it your flooring or a piece of furniture. That honestly goes for any plant, and I've learned that the hard way. Honestly, it's very important for the water to drain out the bottom of your pots when you water. Big plants are no different. After a plant reaches a certain size, like I'd say like after it goes to like a 14-inch pot, I'm gonna be switching that plant to a plastic pot because it's just way too heavy to continue having that plant in like a 16, 20-inch ceramic or terracotta pot. Like the pot itself is extremely heavy, and then you have the weight of the soil and then the weight of the plant matter. It can just get very heavy. And I've noticed that when a plant is a little inconvenient to take care of, I'm less likely to take care of it. And I don't love that about myself, but that is just kind of how it goes. I try to stick with plastic pots that are more of a terracotta color so they blend in a little bit better with the rest of my pots. But yeah, it can be a little difficult to find like really pretty ones. I have a lot better luck finding them in like the summertime because usually outdoor containers tend to be a lot larger. So if you are not finding something in the houseplant section, you might try to look into the gardening section. So to round out this video, I want to talk about some ways that you can keep your plants a manageable size or make them a more manageable size if they're feeling a little bit too big for you. So first of all, chopping, propping, dividing. Probably the #1 most effective way to get your plants to be smaller. Some plants can be cut right below an aerial root and they will propagate and be a whole new plant in and of themselves. Some plants need to be divided. So whatever way your plant needs to be propagated, that would be my first suggestion. It's a really great way to share your plant with others, or if you're wanting to increase your plant collection, of course, that's a great way to do it as well. There is also root trimming, which somebody has actually recently told me about because I was talking about how one of my anthurium is already in like a 12-inch pot. It might even be a 14-inch pot. And if I go up any bigger, I'm not gonna have room for a lot of other plants in my plant cabinet like I would want. So they suggested that I try out some root trimming just to keep it in the current pot that it's in. I've personally never done this. It is something I'm interested in doing. I know a lot of plant people do it. So I can't give you firsthand experience in how it goes, but maybe there's other videos. I'll do a little research and see if I I can find one to link down below. And at the end of the day, if the plant is just feeling too big for you, there are lots of ways to get rid of it. Number one, you can sell it on Marketplace. You can sell it in your local Facebook groups. Secondly, I would suggest donating the plant. So there's a few different places that would probably happily accept your donation, but obviously check with them first to make sure that they would want that. I mean, I can't imagine that somebody would just walk into a room in a business and just plop a plant down and leave. So I don't know why I felt the need to say ask them first. Obviously you're gonna ask them first. But some of those places, number one would be your public library. I feel like libraries always have a lot of really big windows and sweet little reading nooks, and I think it'd be so cool to have more plants in our libraries if there aren't already. Schools are another really great option for donating plants. I'm sure that there's a lot around you. I mean, usually there are quite a few schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, possibly even a university. I feel like front desk areas always can use a plant, so definitely check there if you're wanting to get rid of a plant. Two more places quickly, churches. I'm sure churches would be happy to accept your plants as long as they have the space for them, and then elderly living facilities, or just in general assisted living facilities, I feel would be a really great place to bring your plants. Oh, also another one, if you work out of the home and you think your office would really enjoy a plant, maybe you can bring it into work and you can see it at work and it's still your plant, but it's not in your home. All right, guys, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that it was helpful for you in caring for all of your large plants. If you're not already, make sure that you subscribe to my channel for more houseplant tips and advice and baby sounds. We're gonna go now. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.